I want to use this vlog as an opportunity to go into the point of advertisement and marketing a bit more, as how it is proposed within the living income guaranteed proposal. The starting point of this vlog comes from Galbraith's dependency effect, his concept thereof. Now, within the current economic paradigm, there is a strong emphasis placed on the efficient allocation of scarce resources, because the earth is a closed system, there's only so many resources, we better use them good, and while we use them, we better use them in a way that it satisfies most people's needs and wants. Now, what Galbraith noted and looked at was how far consumers' wants and needs are influenced or even created by suppliers through employing marketing and advertisement tactics, where he basically asks and investigates in how far are our wants and needs today actually genuine, and in how far should resources actually go towards these wants and needs. Because if you have a look, advertisement today, the ones you see on television, books, magazines, they all actually sell one thing, which is the idea of happiness. It's not so much about the product anymore or the service that's being provided, but about how each and every single producer and supplier wants you to believe that if you buy their product, you will have a better life, you will be happier. And so, if you look at the initial point of advertisement and marketing and how it's still actually being presented in textbooks, is that the function of advertisement and marketing is to provide the consumer with information about the product so they can make a informed and rational decision about how to use their money to satisfy their wants and needs. And if you look at advertising today, that's not really what's happening anymore. You barely get an accurate picture of what the product is about, how it works. And almost the entire emphasis and focus point of advertisement and marketing is about how good you will feel if you buy this product. And for this, all advertisements are the same. I read an article just the other day about how an entire want and need was created for razors for females through marketing and advertisement. Before the First World War, women didn't shave their armpits or legs. It was not a problem. It was just hair on your body. But then when Gilette, the razor company, wanted to expand its market for razors to not just men in their beards, they kind of implanted the suggestion that, arm hair, it's not very nice. It's kind of disgusting. You should probably shave it off. Same with leg hair, hairy legs aren't nice. You should rather shave it and have silky, smooth legs. And soon after that, shaving became the new norm, and a whole new demand was created for this one point, which didn't exist before. It wasn't a problem. So it just shows how this whole part of our reality gets created through advertising that doesn't necessarily have to be here. In the meantime, our money goes towards these things, and our resources go towards producing these things, which are not actually a necessity to have a good life, It's not that important. So basically what Galbraith wants to show is how through marketing and advertisement, this whole efficient allocation of resources is simply not taking place. Now, one of the criticisms that's often put forward towards this point is that, well, sure, but I mean, consumers have free will. In the end, it's up to them to decide whether or not they're going to allow this advertising to influence them and allow this to form and shape their decisions. And a study that was done by The Guardian a few years back seemed to actually collaborate this point, where one of the researchers was put on glasses with cameras that would just kind of film his surroundings for an entire day, after which they calculated how many ad impressions he gets in a day, and it was about 4,000. I mean, that's quite a bit of advertising. So they thought, wow, it must have some, effect. Otherwise, why would they be spending so much money on advertisement if it barely does anything, And when they afterwards questioned the researcher, he could maybe only recall and remember less than 1% of the advertisement that he had seen, and where he mostly remembered advertisement where he already had an interest towards or a tendency to want to buy this. So the conclusion of the article was, yes, we get bombed by advertisement all the time, but it really doesn't do so much. We're in control. But now, what's interesting is that anyone that knows a little bit of psychology knows that the human doesn't just process things on a conscious level. So much more goes on a subconscious and unconscious level that we're not aware of. So basically, what the study showed is that within our awareness, we cannot really tell or definitively say that advertisement has a really big impact or role in our decision-making process. But now, if you, for instance, look at Derren Brown, he did this really cool experiment where he invited two people from an advertisement agency to design a poster for him. And as he's explaining to the people what kind of poster he wants, he also says that he made his own poster that he'll only reveal afterwards when they are done, so they can compare the two posters. And sure enough, they designed their poster. Derren Brown comes back, shows him his poster that he made before they even started, and I mean, the similarities are remarkable. I mean, it's like mind control or something. And the first version they actually made, which they threw away, was even closer to the poster Derren Brown initially made. Now, what Derren had done was, as the two people from the agency were going to the location where they would be designing the poster, he had set up certain markers along the way, symbolizing particular points, which then got processed by the subconscious mind, them not being aware of it, but then which came out clearly in the poster they designed. So this shows that it's not because we're not aware of something in our environment that doesn't influence us. We actually have little knowledge, information about the intensity and how far things in our environment really affect us in our everyday life and decision making. I mean, we cannot deny that the human in a very big part is shaped and molded and designed through its environment. If you look at wild children and the feral children that grew up with wild animals, that was their environment, and that's what they become. They start acting like wolves, they start growling, so they are a product of their environment. So to say that this relationship between advertising and the demand is negligible, it's questionable, because if you're a product of your environment, then your decision making is also a product of that environment. And so if you are, from when you're a child, bombarded with advertisement and a culture of consumerism created by this marketing and advertising, then your decision making is also conditioned by it. And then, the tendency to give in to these type of temptations will be a lot bigger than if these points would have been absent from your environment. So yes, sure, everyone has got their responsibility and their decision-making process that is their own, but we also have to consider that this decision-making process and context is also largely determined by the environment. And that is why within the living income guaranteed, we want to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing advertisement, where advertisement and marketing is about informing and educating the consumer about products so that they can make an informed and rational decision about their spending and what they're going to get, so that we don't waste resources, so consumers don't waste their own scarce purchasing power. And so we can go back to having a relationship between consumers and suppliers that is one of respect and transparency, and where you don't constantly feel cheated, and where you have to look out that you're not being scammed with every little thing you're going to buy. Because that's just not a cool way to live. I mean, it's completely unnecessary. So that is the point I wanted to raise in this blog. How advertisement and marketing currently creates a very psychological driven consumer, where it constantly uses emotions and feelings to manipulate and influence and create consumer wants and needs, and thus mold demand. Whereas we want to go back to having a rational consumer so we can for ourselves make better purchasing decisions and manage our resources in a more sustainable way on Earth.